Howdy, East Coast Pete here. They're going to talk about Nick Drake. And everybody has heard of him except for me, somehow. Born in 1948, died in 1974, and garnered little recognition until years after his sad demise. While a student at the University of Cambridge, he was signed to Island Records. Now, I don't know how they came across him since he didn't like giving live performances and he didn't like giving interviews. But he could write and play and sing on a par with anyone. He put out only 3 albums, and the first 2 were nearly ruined by unnecessary instrumentation. In 1998, A Stranger Among Us, a documentary about his life and his music, was released. When he was alive, he only sold about 1,500 albums. By 2014, due to a critical reassessment, 2.4 million albums had been sold, and he is now considered one of the most influential English artists. In school, he excelled, at first going out for track and rugby. He was known as a confident student, but aloof. He was hard to know. He played piano in a band called the Perfume Gardeners. He neglected his schoolwork in favor of music. He bought a guitar, experimented with open tunings and finger pickings, and he found that he liked cannabis and used it whenever he could get it. He traveled to Morocco with friends and discovered hallucinogens. This is one guy who needed to stay away from drugs, as he was clinically depressed. It was his depression that brought out his achingly melodic songs, and he also had a warm, chocolatey baritone voice, and he was exquisitely good looking, like a meek and mild Jim Morrison. In '67, he met music student Robert Kirby. They liked many of the same performers, including Dylan and Donovan and Van Morrison. Robert persuaded Nick to play in coffee houses, where he was noticed by Ashley Hutchins, bassist for Fairport Convention. He liked Drake's guitar play and said he looked like a star. Work began on Nick's first album, 5 Leaves Left. He was given studio time by Fairport Convention in between their recording Unhalf Bricking. Richard Thompson was asked to provide a second guitar on, and his producer insisted on adding instrumentation. A suit named Harry Robinson added syrupy strings to Drake's already gorgeous melodies. The label thought Nick's songs were too bleak to be commercial, and how wrong they were. The tracks included Time Has Told Me, Riverman, 3 Hours, Way to Blue, Cello Song, Thoughts of Mary Jane, Man in a Shed, Fruit Tree, Saturday Sun, and Day Is Done. Lack of promotion saw weak sales. Maybe it just wasn't his time. Drake was penniless and would sleep on friends' couches and floors. His only hope was to write more songs and try again. He never asked for help, not with his music or with his depression. And pot kept him going. Album 2 was called Brighter Later, after one of the songs. This album was more upbeat and jazzy, and even though he far preferred to keep his songs bare, his label convinced him that his songs wouldn't sell unless they were embroidered with cotton candy violins and crunchy percussion. Harry Robinson was brought in yet again. This is the same arranger who tried to embellish Sandy Denny's first solo album, but Sandy had the good sense to insist for her songs to be as she made them. The tracks At the Chime of a City Clock, Fly, Poor Boy, Northern Sky, and Sunday. The album also tanked, and Drake vowed never to let anyone tamper with his songs again. His third and last album was titled Pink Moon. Songs were left naked, and this album was the one that got noticed. Just way too late. Drake moved back home with his parents after Brighter failed. His parents saw how gloomy he had become and took him to a psychiatrist who prescribed antidepressant medicine. But he took the whole bottle and died. Here are his final songs. 1. Pink Moon. 2. Place to Be. 3. Road. 4. Which Will. 5. Horn. 6. Things Behind the Sun. 7. No. 8. Parasite. 9. Free Ride. 10. Harvest Breed. And 11. From the Morning. His life and death defy reason. His label complained that no one could figure out what his songs were about. They were about depression. Duh. If Drake was born 30 years later, he would certainly occupy a place at the forefront of emo music, and he would have musicians and fans around him who understood. And even that may not have been enough to save him. I get angry when I see an artist misused and manipulated by record execs. They take without giving anything back. They don't want singer-songwriters. They want clones du jour. They want to sell that to you. They want Barbie and Ken Rock. They want dancers and 4/4 disco, auto-tuned pap. Give me back my Nick Drakes. Give us our poets. Give us something that lasts. This has been Midrock Crisis. I'm East Coast Pete. Midrock Crisis is on a folk tear. I'll go back to prog and metal music and obviously rock of the 70s soon. Bear with me. Thank you all.